To memorize or not to memorize? That is the question. We all know that in today's world of piano performance, even children are expected to memorize their pieces for recitals and for competitions. Seeing a professional concert pianist perform with music is a rare sight. It's one which I've personally seen on YouTube and still never seen in person at a concert. So, what is this obsession with memorizing? Where does it come from? Is it truly helpful? And if you aren't a concert pianist, should you memorize your music? Let's go back in time. It's 1837. Clara Schumann, just 18 years old, performs Beethoven's Piano Sonata No. 23, the infamous Appassionata, and she does it from memory. Today, that doesn't sound like anything special, but this is one of the first documented occasions when a piano solo was performed from memory. Prior to this, audiences looked forward to hearing new music, not older music. And music was written so quickly and so often, performers regularly didn't have the time to memorize anything before playing it in public. The Romantic era of classical music brought a divide upon pianists and their teachers. First off, music was composed more slowly and more for art's sake and less for an imposed aristocratic deadline like in the past. Secondly, Clara Schumann, Franz Liszt, and even violinist Niccolò Paganini, years earlier, not only performed extensively from memory, but highly encouraged their students to do the same. On the other hand, Chopin is known for discouraging memorization. Audiences and critics of mid-19th century were also divided, but a great many of them thought that a performance without music was a performance more about ego and showing off, rather than about sharing music and art. It's true, onlookers were awestruck by musicians who could perform without music. In many people's eyes, this was equivalent to a superhuman feat. Quickly, and as more and more musicians wanted that sort of attention from their audiences, the norm shifted from performing always with music to never with music. Our modern world of performance is nearly 200 years separated from that day that Clara Schumann performed the Appassionata from memory. What was once superhuman and awe-inspiring is now expected of the youngest children studying music. So if you're studying music today and you have a choice about memorizing or not, which direction should you choose? Well, purely from a practical point of view, having music memorized allows a pianist to have music literally at the tips of their fingers, ready to play at a moment's notice. If a piano shows up and you're there, you can simply sit down and play. But let's talk more musically and technically. Memorizing a piece of music means activating many areas of the brain. We have kinesthetic memory, usually called muscle memory, and that's for remembering very intricate combinations of actions. There's visual memory, remembering what the notes on the page looked like, as well as what our hands look like while playing. Aural memory, or the memory of the ear, which can learn to recognize patterns of pitch and rhythm as a specific piece of music or a specific passage. And analytical memory, memory based on knowledge of musical theory and composition, and how those ideas have been applied to the piece in question. Because of the great and varied power of the mind that one needs to memorize using all of these methods, there's fantastic reason to advocate for memorizing all of your music. Through this intense process, you will develop all of those areas of the brain more quickly, and you'll become a more adept pianist, not only in playing the piece that you're working on, but also in playing everything you learn into the future. Neural connections made once are more easily made again and again when the brain learns just how connected the language of music is to itself. But when you choose to memorize something, you must then devote a very large amount of time and effort to that endeavor. For musicians that don't have hours upon hours of practice time, memorizing even just small sections of music can end up taking all of the time you might have to practice. So if you choose not to memorize music, you're going to free up much of your practice time to learn a wider variety of pieces. Your visual recognition of music and ability to sight read will benefit greatly, and you will develop an innate ability to know where your hands are on the piano while not looking at them. Those are all good things too. I like to think about memorization as having different levels. At the bottom, we have sight reading, the ability to play what's on the page as correctly as possible on first glance. As we continue to practice something after the first sight read of it, we start to develop basic muscle and aural memory. Our bodies begin to recognize the actions that they must execute, and they start to feel familiar. Our ear also learns the right pitches from the wrong pitches and helps guide our bodies into practicing the right motions. Beyond this level, we achieve the ability to proficiently play a piece of music. We have enough memory built, again, usually muscle memory and oral memory, that we can execute the correct motions at the correct time with precision. Our ear still guiding us to execute these motions, but also execute them musically. But all through this process, we still have the music in front of us. So we get to this third tier, and you'll find that you might be able to play a part of a piece without looking at the music, but large sections will still be missing. Taking one final step beyond this point, we achieve total memorization. No longer do our eyes need to remind us of the notes to play looking at the score. However, taking this final step usually requires a large investment of practice time, continuing to further the kinesthetic and oral development, and adding to that visual and analytical aids. Ironically, because difficult passages require us to learn the muscle memory quickly, those can be the easiest to memorize. While simpler music, especially music that you can sight read perfectly, tend to be the most difficult to memorize. Those passages require extra attention in all four areas, and they don't have a foundation in any of them really. So should you memorize or not? What are your goals in playing the piano? Do you want to play a smaller number of pieces but play them extremely well? Do you want to experience a wide variety of music but not be able to finish learning as quickly? If you do perform for others, do you have a choice? What would you do? What would you choose? Would you choose to memorize more of your music? Less of your music? None of your music? All of your music? Which direction would you go and why? Let us know in the comments below. In my own performances, I like to memorize whenever I have the time. I love the feeling of confidence and precise knowledge of where my hands and where the music is going. It feels like I am truly creating music. But many times I simply don't have the time for that, or I'm playing a collaborative concert where using the music is allowed. And even in those circumstances, I like to memorize the technically most difficult passages and the page turns. Then I have the knowledge that I can focus completely on making music for that short time and check back in with the score 8 measures or 16 measures later. If you enjoyed this, please give the video a thumbs up, consider subscribing to the channel, and remember, practice smarter, not harder.